Well, thank you. Hi, my name's Tom, and I'm an alcoholic. I got a sobriety date of November 28th, 2015, but all I have is today. My home group is Bill and Bob's Excellent Adventure out at Standing by the Door. This guy right here, I didn't know him while he was still out there drinking. He is a walking outside issue, but we're going to stick to the sole purpose here tonight. You've all met alcoholics that were just dry. And the first time I met him, he was just a walking asshole. And he did not like anyone or anything around him. He was going through a lot in his life. And I don't know if you guys have ever had sponsors or wise counsel in your life. They're like, hey, go talk to this guy right now. He needs a little help. You know, and I just feel like they're like, here's your helmet. Go crash out, because he's pissed off and he's not wanting to process anything right now. And so I met Skip. He hated me. He didn't want nothing to do with me because I'm just full of the sunlight of the spirit, bubbly and full of life. And I'm like, what's going on, buddy? It's nice to meet you. I'm Tom. He's like, why don't you get the hell out of here? I don't have nothing to do with you right now. He didn't say it, but his face said it. You know what I'm saying? But since then, I got to see him put this program into action. I got to see him process, and he put 10-11 to work. God started moving in his life, and that very issue that he had at that time is probably one of the strongest things in his life here today. He's become one of my best friends, my confidant, my wise counsel, one of the people that I talk to whenever I'm having issues, and my best friend. And I love him, and I'm so thankful to see what this program has done in his life. And what it's done in his life, it can do for anybody in here's life today. He's not special. What he did is he put in the work, and he got the results that are promised to us in that book. So without further ado, Skip, come on up.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Skip, and I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is October 7th, 2019. And as Tom said, I got a little bit more problems than just alcohol, but I'm going to stick with the alcohol-related stuff today for sure. Yeah, so it's been kind of a journey for me. It started, I was born in Montrose, Colorado in '82, and my parents were divorced by the time I was 3. And my mom ran. My dad was a full-blown alcoholic. My mom, she doesn't drink or anything like that, but without taking her inventory, you know what I mean? There might be a little mental stuff going on there, but she did the best she could raise me. I try to be completely transparent anytime I'm up talking about any of this stuff, because I don't want to make it look like life is just peachy, and because I still struggle with things on a daily basis, man, and that's just part of it. It talks about it in how it works, where no one has a perfect adherence to this program, meaning like it gives me that wiggle room to screw up every once in a while, and it's okay. If I continue to look around at all the failures that I've had while being sober and looking at where I've failed, then I would probably not been able to do this, because I don't want to set a standard like this and then never make that standard. I'd probably be drunk right now if that was the case, because I'm not real good with, I don't like the rejection. I have seen some defects of failure, and the unknown scares the shit out of me still to this day. Like I want to know what's going on, with everything and anything. But we got to Arkansas, and my mom remarried, and she got with a guy, and he was pretty abusive physically and mentally, and a lot of my resentment I still have to this day with my mom, I think, is pretty deep-seated because of that relationship, because it lasted for so long. And I just never, as a kid, I just could never understand why we couldn't just leave, and growing up, I was a small little kid, big ears, got made fun of a lot when I went to school, and then I'd come home and have to deal with all that. So needless to say, I didn't really have any kind of confidence or anything in my life at that time. And then I started playing sports and ended up being a pretty good little ball player in football and baseball. And I started to, people would start recognizing that, and I would start getting that confidence and like really coming to find out who I was. And really, sports became my first, probably you guys could probably say, my first higher power. That's all I lived for. Like it gave me purpose, And just fast forward through all that. I got into high school, and I grew up in a little small hick town just south of here called Berryville, Arkansas. Some people know it as Barville. And when you're growing up in a little town like that, and you're kind of good at sports, the party's always there, and I just grasped a hold of that, man. I remember I was 14, the first time I drank, and I still remember it to this day very vividly. And I just remember wasn't real hungover, but I had a really, really good time. Like it just was like this is what living's about, So I continued that, and then other things were introduced to my life, and I ended up going to school one day, and teacher smelled something on me, and I got suspended from school, and pretty much football coach told me I couldn't play on the football team anymore. So I quit school, went out and got my GED, and I didn't have that purpose in my life anymore, and that was a real hard hit for me at 17, 18 years old. So I leaned real heavy in that bottle, man, and I got a job, and I had a pretty functional career as a drinker. I had 3 really, really good jobs. A couple of them paid, 6 figures and stuff, and I thought, I was maintaining everything pretty well. Needless to say, I went to my first AA meeting when I was 17 years old because of my first DWI, and I became a member when I was 37. And so there's a big span there. Since that day of drinking, I was 14 years old. I've been on something the whole time. There's been little spurts where I did this for a little while, but I wasn't doing that. You know what I mean? Kind of a deal. And so that went on for a while, and I finally it all come to an end for me. I had both my grandparents and my best friend. Well, my grandparents died of cancer, and my best friend was murdered down in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, and that all happened in about a year and a half, and that sent me into a pretty, pretty dark place. I ended up picking up a bunch of charges, ended up doing a bunch of jail time, ended up ultimately in a hospital, and I just remember looking up at it had the same tiles we got in here, and I remember just looking up at it, and they talk about in the book the despair with the quicksand, and it was all coming around me, man. Like everybody I knew didn't want nothing to do with me. I was running from probably 3 or 4 different law enforcement agencies. It was a bad deal, and they were wanting to cut my leg off, and my blood had gone sepsis, and they were telling me my organs could shut down at any minute. And for some reason, my body at the time was rejecting antibiotics. I guess they told me there was only a couple antibiotics that could work on the infection that I had. And I just remember looking at that ceiling tile, man, and I can't even sit up here and explain to you guys in words how lonely and how broken I was at that moment. And I guess my mask of immortality was taken off of me, where I was like, I'm going to die. Where none of that stuff bugged me before. I mean, really, there's a couple of times where I probably say genuinely welcomed it because I was so just sick of Skip, just sick of Skip and everything that Skip was doing. And so I just looked up at that ceiling and I said, all right, man, you got my attention. What do I need to do? And that's got me to Branson. And there's a little bit more behind that, but to save the the sake of time and stuff. I'm not going to get real deep into it, but I ended up running in somebody that had a member or a family member that came to Branson, and they were in the same boat as I was at one point in time, and they had about 5 years of sobriety under their belt at the time. And I knew who this person was. I didn't know him personally, but I'd heard about this person. And when she told me that, it caught my attention. But I'd be sitting here lying to you guys if I had anywhere else to go. You know what I mean? So I made a phone call, got up here to Branson, and they started, went to one of the programs here, and they started putting the big book, what it said, up on a board. And it took a little bit, but I started to understand, and once I started listening, really, I became willing to go to any lengths. Now, when I was in that hospital, I know for sure, at the time I didn't know I was doing it, but I pretty much did my step 1, my step 2, and my step 3 right there, where I was pretty apparent I had a problem, right? And I was willing to admit that I had the problem. It was there, And then 2, I was willing to believe that something was up there, or wherever. I was willing to believe in something. And then step 3 was literally, I made the decision when I said, all right, here I am, God, what do I need to do? And once I learned, pretty much, I'll just call it the basics at first of what I was taught at that program, I just literally became obsessed with it, to be honest with you, because I seen all these other people that I had no idea who they were, and they were treating me like they'd known me forever, and they would tell me their problems and the things that had happened for them, and I was like, man, they had a lot worse problems than I did. I feel like some of us, especially me, myself, my problems are the biggest fucking problems in the world. You know what I mean? Like nobody else got problems like Skip got problems. And that's just that ego that I got in me. And that's the mindset I had when I went into that program. Like, man, ain't nobody got as bad as me. Nobody want to talk to me no more. And this and that. And then I end up freaking talking to guys that got like 60-year prison sentences over their heads. And, just a lot worse things going on. But, man, their lives, they were happy and they did something about it. And they changed their lives. And they offered me the same way out, and I took on a hold of that, and I went to running with it. Now, fast forward a little bit, and let's get to COVID. COVID hit, and for those that live in these programs, it was very, very tough to be in a program during COVID. Being stuck in the house, we did have classes that we had to do. We did them on TV, and it just really got super stagnant because literally we would get up out of bed, go to the kitchen, talk to the same person every single day, drink coffee with the same person. It was almost like being married. You know what I mean? Like it was just too much, man. And I wanted to throw the towel in so many times. I wanted to just give up. But I mean, thank God I had nowhere to go. You know what I mean? Like, thank God I had nobody who wanted to even mess with me or anything like that. And little factors like that play in a lot in my story, because there's been a lot of highs and a lot of lows in the last 5 years. Like, I look back on it now, and the situation Tom was talking about, like, that was a really, really dark time for me. And man, I don't want to say I was trying, because I wasn't, but I wasn't willing to give up. And I knew, and the old cliche, just keep coming back. And there was just a lot. I was like, I just didn't want to give up. At that point in time, I was about a year sober, and I knew the end of the story. I knew I'd seen this movie before. You know what I mean? Like, I knew if I left the program and I went back to Arkansas, I knew what was going to happen, and I just didn't want to go back there, man. I did not just to Arkansas. I just didn't want to go back to that life, man. I was just like, a year's a long time. And I'd already got through some court stuff, and, my probation officer was liking me, and I was, there was a lot of good going, but man, like, I don't know if you guys are like me, when something big, or it don't even have to be big, but something bad, that's what I concentrate on, man. Like, I don't think about everything that's going on over here that's good. I'm just thinking about that one thing that's bad. And I don't know, I just had some kind of a moment of clarity when I was at the house. And I remember waking up, it's like I feel like somebody like hit me in the stomach or pushed me. It startled me. I woke up and I just literally heard a voice like, "Don't give up." And I was like, and it like, I don't know if I dreamed that. I don't know, but whatever it did, it worked because I didn't give up. And I did finally start leaning on these steps. I did start getting into talking to people about what was going on. And I mean, it was a very, very, very hard thing I got through. And you know, just to be honest with you guys, it was a little bit. I was married at the time, or I was still married. we were newlyweds. I'll get to that, how all that wrapped here towards the end of what it's like now. But there was a little bit of some infidelity in there, and it was the first time anybody's ever been honest with me, and I really think about step 6 and 7 during this situation, because look, man, I went and did a 4th step again. I went and sat down and talked to somebody, and you know, I was like, went and talked to somebody. I thought, like, in my head, I'm gonna talk to this person and they're gonna say something and I'm gonna snap out of this shit, you know what I mean? And it didn't happen. That just not happen at all. And I just remember driving down the road and I was like, you know what, God, if I don't make her happy, then take her away so I can just move on. You know what I mean? And then the next day, the whole thing unfolded. She was, you know, she called me up, and I mean, not to get into specifics because there would be other people affected in it, but the truth was told, and I had never been told the truth by a woman that I know of ever. Like, not the ones that I ended up falling in love with. You know what I mean? Like, I was really good at pushing them away, and you know what I mean. It was just it was a big moment for me. Like, for real. Like, I put in my mommy issues with that too. You know what I mean? Like, I just really didn't have a lot of faith in what women said to me. You know, and it was the first time I got that honesty, and there was a spiritual awakening in that. I don't know how to explain it to you guys, but I just remember going down the highway. I remember thinking back, man, I gave it to God, and this is what happened. And now, because of that situation, dude, I have one of the best marriages I think I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not just being biased. I'm very I'm trying to be as humble with it about it is. But man, like, we don't have any problems. Like, I can be honest with her. She can be honest with me. And I mean, she works a program as well. And I don't think anything other than that program is where it's gotten us today. You know, like, for real. Because I've seen people that don't, man. And it's just like, it's so hard to tell some people that, like, man, you literally have to give everything to God. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I do it on a daily basis, because I grab a hold of the steering wheel a lot, man. But you know, I always know he's always still right there waiting on for me to come help me, as long as I ask him to. You know. Fast forward a little bit more. When I got into teaching the CSR classes over at Staying by the Door, and that alone probably kept me, showing me that the promises of the book that says that it comes true, because I get to go to these places where there's a lot of newcomers and a lot of people. And it's nice to be able to present the steps to them and get to see some of the spark that comes on in their eyes when we do it. And that kept me going for a really long time too. Like, Brandy and I, we did that together for a long time. I still do it from time to time, but not as much. And I tell you, those couple years of when I was doing it, a little bit more happier when I wake up in the mornings than I am now. You know what I mean? Like, here lately, I've just kind of come to that acceptance that I just restless, irritable, discontent, man. I'm just cranky ass motherfucker, you know, and I am, dude, and I know that, and I was like, I would get in my box for a long time because I'm not one of those people that just get up in the morning, okay, and go to the coffee, and I'm just whistling the whole way there and just excited, man, dude. Like my wife, on the other hand, she's cool with waking up in the morning. Me, I don't know if it's from my trauma from being out there in the streets. Going to sleep was not a good idea. Like when I wake up, there's always she was gone, it was gone, something was gone, you know. And I don't know if that's got something to do with it or not, but the restless, irritable, discontent thing. I mean, that really that just stuck. That's just there, man. And I know it, and I'm a firm believer that I'm not responsible for the first thought that comes to my brain. But I am responsible for the second one, and I know how to react differently to those things. I have a lot of L's being sober, but I do have some wins from time to time, man. I usually got to take a couple L's to get the win. As I said, I've got a big ego, I'm very prideful. I wish I wasn't like that, but you know, that's just how I'm wired, man. And I've learned that, you know, people. It says in the book, perhaps they're spiritually sick. Well, maybe people are just assholes. You know, perhaps they're just assholes. Or perhaps they just don't know how to people. You know, perhaps they just don't know how to handle situations. Or perhaps they just cannot live up to the expectations that I put on them. You know? I mean, that's a big one. I learned that in the 4th step. Probably the biggest lesson I learned in the 4th step was that I'm the problem. That's really the biggest thing for me, and there's never a moment, a argument, you know, whatever's going on with Skip at any point in time, do I ever blame somebody else for the way I feel, man. I know it's my fault, and sometimes I feel like it's kind of an AA curse, because you just want to be mad at somebody else, but you know you can't be. And if that's the one biggest thing that I learned from this program, that's a big one. Because, like, I will be a straight asshole, and the whole time I'm being an asshole, I'm like, this is not their fault in the back of my head. They, you know what I mean? You know, you're letting this person dominate you. You're letting this situation dominate you. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and it tells us that the people in the world and the people in it dominated us. So I was told that I'd sit down and write all this stuff down at one point in time. And I'm not going to lie, guys, there was a chore coordinator position open at Core, and I wanted that position. They told me I had to do my 4th step, my 5th step before I could have it. So that's what motivated me really to get it done. But once I sat down and started doing it, man, I ended up having a really big, like, I had like 8 pages on myself, and there was a lot of paperwork. I took about 4 or 5 hours to do my 5th step, and I did it with a guy. He's dead now. His name's Kenny Morgan. He was a great man. He was a really good dude, and he's missed tremendously. But I think back about where I was just now talking about how I'm the problem, is maybe when I did that 5th step with him, I didn't catch on to what he was trying to teach me or show me. But years later, when I look back on it, I know exactly what he was trying to tell me. You know, I was willing to go any length. I was ready for something new, but man, I wanted that bedroom upstairs. You know what I mean? I did. I'm not gonna lie. You know, and so it's like maybe a little character defect of wanting some power motivated me to get that thing done. So fucking be it. You know what I mean? That's here I am. And so I ended up sitting down with him, and I learned a lot looking back on it, man. When it gets to making amends, I've had to do a couple of them. They're not any fun either. Probably need to do more, to be honest with you. I'm not really the best. By no means am I sitting up here trying to be on any kind of a hilltop and say that I'm the best person in the world working this program, but I'm not at all. There's a couple people in here that know that for a fact. I got one that works with me and gets to see it firsthand basis all the time. And I tell you, those drives home after a shit night, like those drives home thinking about the day, I get so disappointed in myself sometimes, man. I'm really hard on myself about it because it's like, dude, Skip, you live a certain type of way. You know that living the other way is a bad way to live. And, you know, it might not affect me right then, but if I continue to be an asshole or I continue to start backsliding, then ultimately I'm going to end up getting drunk over it. And that's just the truth of it. That's the facts that I know today. So, I mean, I got to continue doing it all the time. And, you know, I'm glad that there's a little wiggle room there because I wouldn't be here today if there wasn't, for real. I don't know, that's just pretty much what I did. What it's like now today is I got some really, really good friends. I actually asked the 3 guys I had I had come up here and introduce and read. I don't know if they know it or not, but they're 3 pillars in my world when it comes to recovery, for real. Like all 3 of them are people that I've learned something from or that I can still call like that, and they answer the phone for me every time. They don't co-sign on my bullshit. Mike might a little bit every once in a while. They both have, all 3 of them have literally, in some way or another, I've heard something they've done or their actions have spoke for them more than anything and given me more hope. I wish Wade was still here because I like giving him hell about this, but you know, I'd see Wade, and Wade's one of those people. He be happy, he's cool. He just don't look it sometimes, you know. And I just, when I got to saying by the door, man, Wade would just be always got his whole chest puffed up, and I was just like, I'll beat you up, dude. You know what I mean? Like I always wanted to be like, you know, and it's so funny because I was like, I'd watch him for a while. After a couple months of being there, me and him got in a big argument, and that was kind of the same time that Tom came in, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing Wade pick up like a 4-year chip, and I was like, it was very inspiring. And I'm gonna say something. It's gonna make guys laugh, but I mean, this is literally what my thought was like, well, if him being the biggest asshole he is can stay sober 4 years, surely the fuck I can. You know what I mean? Like, and so that was a kind of a big thing for me, man. And you know, and Mike's always got some good stuff to say, and Mike's kind of on my level, man, when it comes to the things, because like he'll say something and like somebody else will say the same damn thing, but he'll say it in a way that I understand it. And like, you know, that whole giving grace and that whole like wiggle room thing, you know, I've been sober for a little while, but and I know Clark probably gets tired of me saying this, but he said one day, I don't know if I missed the quote up wrong or not, it was like, you know, you sure gave her hell, or you fucked it all up, but you sure gave her hell. We'll try again tomorrow. And that's like, you know, that really gave me, is like, man, I guess he's right. You know, and just little things like that. And then those, you know, Tom, dude, he's a really, yeah, I feel bad still this day for treating Tom the way I did, but he was right. I was not happy. I wasn't trusting nobody at the time. I just, I didn't know what to do with myself. And he always stood there with his hand out, man. And I'm glad I ended up becoming friends with him because he's a really good spiritual advisor. He's a really good friend. His wife and him are my best friends too. It doesn't matter where or what I got to talk to him. I've went and talked to him about some crazy ass shit too, and it's always been pretty fun to see the old preacher man's face. But I'm gonna get to the wifey, and I'll probably be done because I mean, Randy and I met literally playing spades at Core on a table. We became really good friends. We're kind of the rehab fairy tale, I guess you could call, that actually worked out. We man, we just processed a lot of things together, and then I moved to Springfield and opened up a house up there. And I realized how much I missed her. And then we came back down, moved back down here, and we ended up getting together and getting married. And there was a lot of people that were against it. And I can see why. The only reason why I really wanted to bring it up and to say is like it is possible to have a relationship. I promise you it is. We both work a program, so we both work these steps, so I'm sure that has a lot to do with the reason why she can tolerate me as much as she has. But we got a place, and I can't ask for a better place to live. My life is really good today. Without just sitting up here just beating up work the steps. I mean, I don't know what else to say to you guys. I just know that if somebody like myself can do it, and you see a change in me or something you want, and you believe that can happen for you too, then you're already done with step 2. And that's usually a lot of the hard ones that I see everybody that struggle with is that 2 and 3, man. And really, I mean, it's easy for me to say for a couple reasons. Probably one, I was desperate as a drowning man was. Like it was just that desperation that kept me going, that wanted me to just, hey, look, I'll try fucking anything. What do I need to do, kind of a deal. And that's just where I was at with it. But then, being sober for a little bit of time, it's easy to sit up here and say this works and this works and that works. And, I just know it works for me. If nothing else has worked for you, then the only choice you got is to give it a shot. So I don't have too much more. I'm usually up in front of a bunch of people with a marker in my hand and a whiteboard. It's a little bit easier for me to do, but I appreciate you guys having me tonight, and that's all I got. All right.